What is up, my fellow bro gamers? Mr. J313 back again with more Mass Effect Andromeda. And on today's video, we're going to discuss the Human Juggernaut, his abilities, what weapons I think are best to use with him, and just an overall general feel for the character. Now, this will just be a discussion going over. It's kind of like you can call it a pre-build guide. That's what we're going to call this. So, my first impressions of the Human Juggernaut were pretty cool. My very first game, as you guys saw, was the level 1 gold. Now that game was pretty intense. It wasn't like most level 1 gold games I have. Typically, you know, I might go down or die here or there, but you know, the Human Juggernaut, I felt fine. I felt like I was doing great. And that is partially because he is geared to be a tank. Now, initially, when I saw Juggernaut, I will link this video down in the description, as well as have an end card at the end of the video for all of you who haven't seen it, but this character was data mined along with all of the other newer ones that were coming out, and whenever I read it, I initially was hoping for a Geth Juggernaut like what was in Mass Effect 3, with his insane health and shields, and I knew that really wouldn't work as well for Andromeda because of the differences in combat, but, you know, I can dream. So, with my health and shields right now being a level 10, I have spec'd into health and shields in the Remnant Armor as it would be any other way, but that's the only health and shields you can actually spec into other than damage resistance or buffs, or using Fortify, which is just more damage resistance. So the max health and shields you can get, ignoring whatever your bonus levels are, I think mine is pretty much level 3 almost across the board except for regens. Your max is going to be 889 with a 384 shield. And you know, that's not crazy tank level, but when you consider he has Fortify plus the Remnant Armor passive bonuses, he becomes just utter god status of a tank. He can probably out-tank any Krogan in the game, so that's what really makes him appealing as a tank. So let's look at the Batarian Scrapper. So the Batarian Scrapper having a max health of 836 with a 459 shield, a little bit less health but quite a bit more shield, so that really just, I don't know, it kind of teeter-totters. He has, I think, a good balance of each, but because he does have Fortify, that really does help. So with my Fortify at level 4, I have 70 damage resistance and a movement speed penalty of 35% with a sprint speed penalty of 18%. Recharge time does not even matter, honestly, in my opinion. So let's go down and break down your skills. So right now is level 10. I had a struggle. My first impression of looking through everything, I didn't know how I was going to be speccing him as I leveled up, and that is something I haven't ever done in a build guide, is I never really talk about, you know, from level 1 to level 20, how you should build them, and it's something I wish I would have done, but I'm going to kind of start doing it with the Human Juggernaut in the next 3 characters they do come out, or on any other build guide I do. So what I've kind of been doing is every level I put points into everything, because I don't really see anything that you should not spec into. Everything you need to spec into. So with the Remnant Armor, definitely, I just don't know, because I am trying to mentally image what I need at 6, because I see so many things that would be great at 6. And honestly, I think Apex training is the only thing I wouldn't bring to 6, but rank 6 power specialist would be a great benefit for him. Having the extra power damage force and the weapon weight capacity could really help if you're wanting to bring those heavier weapons into the fight. So let's go down from top to bottom. We're going to go Snap Freeze. Now with Snap Freeze, I'm kind of looking at it as it's going to be mainly just getting everything frozen in my path so I can detonate it. I do know that a lot of you are going to say, well, no, you should really just make it a debuff, but I really don't see it, since I find the Juggernaut being a tank and he can detonate his own combos. I really see the biggest point in him is I would probably go into 4 with either damage or radius. I'm not sure which I'm going to take yet. I'm kind of feeling radius to better benefit Shockwave and getting further detonations. That's where I'm kind of seeing with that. With Fortify, I'm trying to decide now if I want to go any further. You know, I haven't ever really used that many characters with Fortify, so it's not something I'm too familiar with, but definitely have to go to rank 4 and get protection for that extra damage resistance to make yourself even more tanky. For rank 5, I really don't know. I could see a lot of these being good. I really have to say that melee damage bonus would probably be my choice, but that regen bonus for shield feedback is pretty nice. So I don't know which I'm going to pick. I'm probably going to end up picking the power armor for rank 5. And then with rank 6, I'm really wanting to try out how explosive purge is. I've never used it before because, like I said, I've never really used Fortify that much. So if you guys think it's a very handy dandy perk to have, then please do let me know down in the comments, and I will definitely give that a try in the full build guide and see how it does work out. And then that is also another great thing about Explosive Purge. Not only is it dealing damage, 400 damage over a 4-meter radius, but it will also do additional damage to shields because it is an electric explosion, and it will also prime enemies for combo detonations. So if for some reason your snap freeze isn't at the ready, and you can use that, and then follow it up with Shockwave for a good detonation. Now moving on to Shockwave, this is another big one. You're going to go all the way into it. Really, I don't know if I would go 6. Honestly, I'm going to say don't go into 6. I do think it would be nice to have it at 5. I would probably say damage and force over radius, because you know I don't have a problem with radius typically, unless I'm getting people in a cone with snap freeze, but I tend to just not have a problem with it, so I would definitely go damage and force. And then with rank 5, that's another big one. The distance would definitely be nice, but I kind of feel like the recharge speed would be better doing more combos more often, because as of right now, because I'm a tank using shotguns, I'm typically right up in their face, so I don't have to worry about reach. You know, you also have to remember that you're only going to really be using that based off of Snap Freeze's reach. So if Shockwave is reaching further than Snap Freeze, that radius is pretty much useless, at least in my opinion. Now, I do know it will be handy to get that extra damage out there, but I just don't see it being worth it over the recharge speed. Rank 6, I really just don't see using it. The anti-armor would be nice, but lifting Shockwave, you cannot use this for the build I'm going for because it would completely ruin it, seeing as you'll be detonating all of your combos off of Snap Freeze. So that is just a big no-no. Now with Apex training, I really just don't see going any further, like I said, because, you know, first 3 and then powers and melee. For rank 5, if I went into it further, I would definitely go special combat training for the extra combo damage. That's really the only thing I see having there. The hover duration and the accuracy while hovering is pretty much useless. The ammo and targeting, that is honestly pretty useless as well, so really it's just that combo damage that would come in handy. And then if you were to go into 6, obviously power specialist for the extra power damage and force, and then the weapon weight capacity would be nice, like I said, for carrying those heavier weapons. So then we move on to finally the Remnant Armor, which is his new passive. This is brand new to the game and very interesting. So let me read off the description. Experimental power armor that enhances mobility, melee attacks, and defense. Remnant Armor converts wasted energy from weapons, powers, and melee attacks to improve its augmentations as you deal damage. So basically, I'm going to give you a rundown of what this does. As you deal damage and get kills while you're playing, you will get this buff. It's going to be a passive buff more or less, but you do have to keep that damage flowing, because as time rolls on, if you're not getting any damage out there or doing kills, within 3 seconds, you will lose all of your buffs, which does suck, but these buffs are pretty nice. So at level 1, you're going to get maximum damage resistance of 50, max melee buff of 50%, with a max movement speed buff of 15%. So I'm not sure, well actually I am sure, as the 3 seconds counts down, the buffs will slowly decrease. I can't tell you how they decrease, like at what kind of percentage we're looking at here. It doesn't really say, but over those 3 seconds it will decrease, and if you're continuously putting out that damage and getting kills, you will stay at your maximum buff. Now I'm not sure if it holds for 1 second for max, or if it just starts ticking down. That I don't know, but let's move on to these buffs because they are pretty nice. So rank 2 has nothing to do with the buffs. You're just getting health and shield regen and regen delay reduction. The rank 3 has nothing to do with the buff. It is just max health and shields. But then we go into rank 4, and then that is kind of where we will see more of the buff side. So for regeneration, you can get health regeneration cap, health and shield regen delay reduction, or you could go with extra weapon weight capacity, which is nothing to do with the buff, or, well, on top of that, you can also get max melee damage buff. So that is a whopping 100% max melee damage that you're going to get while this buff is active. That is pretty awesome. Now, one thing about that I will say, the Juggernaut's melee, it is good because he has a special melee. He has the Remnant Cryo Gauntlet. It does kind of suck because it can't detonate combos, but I think it is better than the Batarian Gauntlet. Not saying I prefer the Cryo Gauntlet over the Batarian Gauntlet, but the Remnant Cryo Gauntlet, whatever the fuck it's called, can freeze enemies. So if you hit someone who's unshielded, unarmored, you will freeze them. If you hit someone shielded or armored, you will chill them. And it does some pretty decent damage. But that is another great thing, is if everything is on cooldowns, you can use your melee and then use Shockwave to follow up for a detonation. So that is really handy, and that extra melee damage could come in handy, but I kinda am leaning more towards regeneration, simply because I am fine with the melee at this point. Maybe over time I'd change my mind, but right now I'm kind of leaning more towards regeneration. So for rank 5, this is a pretty tough one. You can get a max damage resistance buff of 40 or take evasion. Now my problem with evasion is I just don't know how helpful it really is. You know, the damage resistance while airborne, I'm not typically airborne that much, and when I am, I'm not usually getting shot, at least in my head. The 100 damage resistance while evading would be very nice, plus you will have a 15% max movement speed buff that's stacking on with this Remnant Armor passive. But ramping defense, that extra damage resistance could come in handy when you're out there stacking bodies, slaying enemies. So rank 6, definitely the toughest choice of any character by far in Mass Effect Andromeda. Invulnerability for top, you get 1.5 seconds of invulnerability after killing an enemy, or you can take maximum efficiency and have a 100% fall off time increase. So that would take your 3-second buff drop to a 6-second buff drop. That is honestly very, very, very difficult for me choosing, but I'm kind of feeling like my initial playthrough with the Human Juggernaut, I'm going to take invulnerability to kind of test how that 1.5 second kind of lasts, because I don't know if it's going to be as handy as I'm really hoping. We're just going to have to wait and see. So that is it for skills. You know, obviously once you start getting in the veteran bonuses, this character will be just complete god status. When it comes to weapons, right now I've been using the Ruzod Siphon 4 and a M37 Falcon Siphon 3. Now, where I kind of see shotguns, you definitely need to be rocking a shotgun with the Human Juggernaut. Which one is kind of just more personal preference. I do really feel like you should be running a Siphon one. That's just my opinion for getting all of that health back that you might be losing while out there up in the face of every enemy you come across. So, secondary weapon, complete personal preference. The only reason I am using the Falcon is because I have a Siphon, and it does put out quite a good amount of damage, especially when I'm dealing with those boss enemies such as Hydras, Fiends, Ascendant, and so forth. So that is why I carry it, plus my power regeneration is still at 100%. Now with equipment, I've been using the Juggernaut Shield. It seems very fitting because of the extra shield capacity as well as melee damage capacity. I do wish this would not have been nerfed, because if not, then this would just be completely insanely overpowered. So as far as equipment goes, this is probably what I will be using forever, just because I see it being the most beneficial at this point. Now with consumables, I would definitely say, oh, that is a tough one. You could either use power efficiency mods or some sort of power amp, whichever you feel is more beneficial. Honestly, I would say a universal power amp to better benefit Snap Freeze and Shockwave. You can also use a cyclonic mod to better up your shields for being out there if you're really having problems staying alive, but I don't really see that being an issue. You could also run any type of ammo mod to be better yourself for detonations, but I don't really see that being that big of a deal either. Weapon mods, you could run a shotgun rail amp if you please, and you want extra weapon damage, but I just don't really see the point in that. And then finally, you could also run a strength enhancer. Definitely having more melee damage never hurts, especially with the Human Juggernaut. So as far as it goes, guys, that is really just my quick brief overview of the Human Juggernaut. I actually don't know why I said quick and brief, because this turned into a 15-minute video. So definitely, if you guys have not already checked out the gameplay I have of the Human Juggernaut, definitely go check that out. Links in the description, as well as right here in a couple of seconds at the end of the video once the outro rolls. So guys, I really do hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please be sure to smash that like button, because it will really help this channel out as we're moving on our road to 500 subs. If you're new around here, please be sure to smash that subscribe button too, because we're putting videos out every Monday and Friday. And if you look on our channel, this past week has been absolutely insane. I've been doing minimum 2 videos a day because I have made a return to Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. So if you're a fan of Mass Effect, definitely go check out the rest of those videos. I will link the playlist down in the description. So guys, as always, that's all I have for you. This has been Mr. J313, and I will catch you on the next one.